All right, guys, we're going to get going here. Thanks for everybody for coming. You guys all have obviously an option to be here, and the fact that you're going to come here and listen to some guy speak for 30 minutes when you could be out there eating or doing something else, I appreciate it. It tells me you guys care about your business. Today's session is going to be very fast-paced. I'm going to be talking about the future of the restaurant industry, the sales growth, where things are going, the impact of social media, and then also we're going to be talking about managing the guest experience. I've got about an hour's worth of content that I'm going to try to cram into about a 30-minute window. So if you see me running around, that's because I am ADD. I am a little bit crazy. Anyway, so I don't want to waste too much time. I'm going to try to save a couple minutes at the end of the session. Probably is not going to happen, but I'm going to try to answer any questions that we might have. I have a booth literally just right across the way over here, so if anybody has any questions after the session about my company, my services, or about the presentation, certainly come by and visit us. One of the things we're going to be doing is giving away a big screen TV, and we're not going to make you guys try to cram it in the overhead compartment or kick it under the seat. So if you come by and drop off a card at the table, we'll actually notify the owners after the show, and we'll actually ship it to your home. So, no more luggage carry on the airplane. Other people's like, we're giving away a TV, how am I going to get it home? Well, okay, we're going to send it to you. Give you guys a quick background on myself when we get started. My name's Charles Stiles. I'm the president and founder of Business Evaluation Services. We have several divisions in our company under our brand, which is called Mystery Shopper Services. Does anybody use mystery shopping in their business? Okay. We also have a social media platform where we do brand management tracking. We do social media reviews. We do surveys, register receipt. We do crowdsource solutions. So we do a lot of different things. We're a partner with Performance Food and their Spark program. And we actually offer some of our discounted service to you guys. Give you kind of a quick background on myself. I come from a food industry. You guys might also know me as the Food Network's, Mystery Diners television show. If you're not familiar with that, it's a hidden camera show where we go behind the scenes and we pay attention to what's going on in your restaurant when the employees believe nobody's paying attention. And some of the things that we see, you can imagine over the years, has been a little bit crazy. We've done 11 seasons, 150 episodes. This man up here in front, I've worked with a few years ago, AJ Tusa. If you don't know him, he's a fun guy. But some of the times that when people meet me out in public, they go, tell me about your most crazy experiences, things you've seen behind the scenes in a restaurant. And we've seen all kinds of crazy things, obviously, behind the camera. But one of the things that still has blown me away, and I have not seen anything to top it yet. Alligator running through set was pretty close, but I still didn't top this. My wife and I live on the Central Coast in California up by Santa Barbara. And there's a restaurant that specializes, their steak, it's a steak restaurant. One of their specialties is they brand all of their steaks, okay? So when you order a nice big ribeye, it comes out with this big sear on the steak. And we were up there, I think it was a Friday night, it's been a few years back, and we're having a meal. And the manager was friends of ours, and the restaurant had closed. We were just hanging out, having a few drinks. And they come back out of the kitchen and say, you guys got to come back here to the kitchen. You got to see what's going on. Okay. So we walk back into the kitchen, and these two knuckleheads have got this branding iron over the stove, and one of the guys got his sleeve rolled up, I'm not kidding you, and he proceeds to brand him on the arm. I mean, the smoke, sizzle, the smell of burnt flesh, not a good thing. The guy that's doing the branding is looking at this going, I don't want that on my arm for the rest of my life, and his buddy's going, oh, no, you're going to get a brand. And he's like, well, you know what? Not on my arm. I'm not kidding you. He bends over, pulls down his pants, brands his butt cheek, okay? Now, I will tell you, I've been back to the restaurant since, but I always order my steak without the brand because I know where that brand has been, right? So, do crazy things happen? Absolutely. And the funny thing is I got to know the owner a few months later, and I shared the story with him, and he's like, you know what? These guys are knuckleheads. It doesn't surprise me. And I went, opportunity. You know what? I got this television show. Can we recreate this? And he's like, oh, no. Not in for that. So anyway, do crazy things happen? Absolutely. And my personal background, as I started to mention, I've come from the food business myself. In my early 20s, I had a small retail chain of gourmet food stores. You guys familiar with like Hickory Farms? The store was called House of Almonds. It was originally owned by Dole Pineapple. They sold their stores off. Kind of like a Harry and David store. We had gourmet candies, chocolates, gift baskets, and so on and so forth. And I was in my early 20s. I had a marketing business before that, and I really hadn't had any experience managing people and having multiple locations. And so, I started realizing real quick And you guys probably don't experience this. I'm probably the only one that's ever had this happen, but I started noticing that the employees will lie to you, they'll steal from you, and they treat your customers different than you would expect, right? I mean, does anybody experience that, right? Well, I thought I was a genius. I thought I invented mystery shopping, okay? I'm this young 20-year-old kid. It's like, you know what, I gotta have some way to manage my stores and know what's going on when I'm not around to pay attention, right? So I started developing what I thought was the right service culture for my customers, and I created these shop forms, and I would hire people to come in and be mystery shoppers in my store. And so they would fill out the reports, they'd bring it back in, and I'd sit down with my staff, and I would share with them what happened from the anonymous visit when the shoppers came in. And sometimes, you know, they got a pat on the back, they did a great job. Sometimes they get a kick in the butt, and here's the things we need to do to correct, you know, the things that are taking place in the store. And sometimes we gave them a promotion to a permanent vacation, you know. Sometimes they had to leave. Sometimes it was time for a new career switch. But the funny thing that I started noticing is that our shrinkage started going down, our sales started going up, our customers were a lot happier, but also our employees were a lot happier because they knew what the boundaries were. I had set expectations. And so one of the other side benefits was they started weeding themselves out. We get new hires, and if they weren't cutting it, I mean, they knew, the employees knew that they were, their tails were on the line, and they would just kind of start weeding themselves out. And so the reason I share this with you is I want to kind of give you a personal background. I'm not just some guy that's been on television or has a, you know, a service audit company that hasn't been in your shoes. I know what it is to manage people and to deal with people stealing from you and all the different things that you guys go through. So I thought it was kind of important to share that with you a little bit. But anyway, kind of moving on, we're going to be talking about the future of the restaurant industry. And the first thing I want to share with you guys is some positive news, some good things, because I think it's important to understand the opportunities that you have in front of you, as well as it is to kind of look at some of the challenges you guys might be facing. I need my little shiny clicker thing here, so we'll kind of move on. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is the future, okay? And all the data that I'm going to share with you here in a moment is all to do with the items taken away, not eaten at home, not consumed at home. Purchases made in restaurants, whether it be fine dining, fast casual, yogurt shop, ice cream, whatever it might be. All snacks, all meals prepared away from home. Well, in 2014, I've cut down a little bit, they did a study, I should say in early 2015, they did a study on what the health of the restaurant industry was. This is like in January, February, the National Restaurant Association did this study. And in the United States, there was $683 billion in sales in the restaurant industry. There was 990,000 locations and employing 13.5 million people. Okay, that's a lot of people, that's a big industry. Well, they had a projection for the year 2020. Based on the growth of the industry, they felt that by the year 2020, there'd be over $800 billion in sales on an annual basis. There'd be over 1 million locations, and they'd be employing 14 million people. So that was the projections that they had, okay? So, let's move forward here a little bit. There we go. Well, at the end of 2016, like January, February this year, they did another study, and current sales up to that point is now a $799 billion a year industry, okay? The projections for 2020, by 2017, they've already reached their numbers. There's already over 1 million locations and employing 14.7 million people. So I know there's a lot of what's going on in the industry, are we dying, what's going on? You're actually experiencing it up. There's a lot of growth. I mean, you go back years ago, you know, back in the 50s, there weren't that many locations. They were all kind of family ran, family owned. Now you've got a competitor on every corner. You know, there's still growth opportunity. The industry's growing. Well, you know, right now it's $38 billion a year is the average growth, okay? So they've already blown away the 2020 projections. Well, let's kind of go backwards a little bit. Let's talk about the past, if you will. And I'm going to take my watch off here because if I don't watch time, I'll run out of it and you guys will all be mad at me. So we'll go back to 1955. You know, at that point in time, the restaurant's share of the food dollar was 25%, okay? You had the nuclear family, typically a one income family. Dad went to work, mom's job was to stay home, take care of the kids. She got the kids up, she fed them breakfast, she'd make them their lunch, she'd send them off to school, the kids come home from school, and they'd have a snack. Dad would come home from work, mom did the grocery shopping, and the meal was prepared, they sat at the dinner table, and they ate a meal together, okay? How many have a dinner table at your house? Not that many. Now, of those that raised your hand, how many actually use it? Okay? In my house, it's a dust collector. You know, we eat out all the time. We have one, but we don't use it. Well, back in 1955, I mean, that was kind of the course of the action. I mean, everybody, you know, that was kind of the nuclear family. Well, now you move forward to 2017, Now over 50% of the restaurant dollar, or the food dollar, is spent in restaurants. Now you have two income families. Mom and dad both go to work. The kids get up, they make themselves their breakfast, they get to school, they may or may not eat lunch, they get home, they make themselves some kind of a snack. Mom and dad come home from work, they both grab little Bobby and little Sally and they run them off to ballet, off to soccer, basketball, football, whatever it is, and on the way to practice, what do? They drive through a drive-through. They're eating their dinner in the car, okay? They come home, the kids might do their homework, play on their electronics, whatever it is, they go to bed, and what do? They do it all over again the next morning, okay? That's the life that we live in now. So it's a continually growing trend. Well, kind of moving on here a little bit. Make sure I keep up with my notes here. So talking more about the growth trends in 2016, I don't know what state you guys live in here. I thought maybe it was relative information. I'll share it with you. But so you can see the top 5 sales by state. In California, there was $79 billion in sales. In Texas, it was $52 billion. In New York, it was $42 billion. Florida was $40 billion. And in Illinois, it's $24 billion. Any of you guys from those states? You know, good news. Those are the most, sales with the states with the most sales. Well, 2015 to 2016, there was $746 billion in sales. 2016, there was $783 billion. That's a 5% annual growth. So is the industry growing? Absolutely. And that's good news for you. Now, the grocery industry, I'm going to tell you, they're a little bit worried because people are typically not eating at home, just like we talked about. And one of the studies I just read here recently is that families will typically shop in 3 different grocery stores to have the items that they want to have at home to cook their meal. They'll go to Costco, they'll go to Trader Joe's, and they'll go to Albertsons or Lucky's or whatever it is. And nobody has time for that. I mean, we see that. They're going through the drive-through. And it's a trend that grocery stores are experiencing. That's why you see a lot of the grocery stores start having a bigger deli. You're starting having a lot more prepared foods. I mean, there's some of them that actually you can shop in the store, bring your fish to the counter, they'll cook it for you while you're there and walk around the store drinking a glass of wine. My kind of store, okay? Well, part of the study was done, 56% of adults said they would rather have some kind of an outside experience rather than cooking a meal at home. And of those, 83% of adults said they use smart devices. And the direction we're going to start going here, we're going to start talking about social media in a minute. Well, 75% of people are using their phones, their devices. They're looking up menus. Now, I highlighted the reviews being read, 55%, for a reason. Okay, people are using social media. 20 years ago, internet didn't really exist. Thanks to Al Gore, right? Social media didn't exist. The internet didn't exist. If somebody wrote a review about you and it was a bad, if somebody had something bad to say about your business, the old adage, one person has a bad experience, they tell 10, those 10 tell 2, those 2 tell 1, and then it just kind of goes away, right? Well, with social media, it doesn't go away. It's out there forever. Anyway, so 51% of people are using their smart devices to order food to take out from the restaurant website. 50% use it for special rewards. 75% of consumers said they would go to a restaurant that offered off-hour menus. So if you have a restaurant and you've got a Tuesday, Wednesday that the things are a little bit slow, it's an opportunity for you guys to have a happy hour menu. Some people have Taco Tuesdays. I mean, that's why it's become a growing fad, is because people are taking the opportunity for dates that, might be a little bit slow. Well, what does this say about the consumers and the opportunities? Well, they want to eat in your restaurants. They want the convenience. They don't want to cook at home. They're using mobile technology to determine where they're going to eat, and for slower peaks, you have an opportunity to create your sales. Well, there we go. Well, during the study, one of the things that they surveyed everybody, said, what is the top attributes that you use when you consider going to a restaurant? What do you use? What's your driving factor for where you're going to eat? The number one, over 50% of the consumers, and this is from 18 to 80 basically, was in this study, said the most important thing to me that determines where I'm going to go eat is good service. I want a good experience when I go out to eat, okay? That was the most important attribute. Number 2 was quality food and a good value, okay? You guys are ordering your food from Performance Foods, so you already got the great food, okay? The good value, I don't have any idea what your menu items are and so forth, but if somebody's going out to a burger and they're looking to buy a burger, they're comparing the quality of that hamburger and the price. So if 2 of your competitors down the street are way lower priced and you're carrying the same items, you know what? You need to be a little more competitive. But they're not looking going, oh, I got this gourmet hamburger at your restaurant and comparing it to McDonald's Big Mac. Okay, it's not what I'm talking about. But they are choosing based on quality and where they're going. The other thing is favorite items on the menu. Are you catering to the customers in your neighborhood? And then number 4, convenient location to their home or work. And number 5, healthy menu. Now, we're all seeing it. People are farm to fresh table, things are more organic, they want no GMOs. You know, a lot of people celiac disease, you know, they're wanting to cut out all the gluten. So it's a growing trend. But these are the things that customers are looking for when they're deciding where they're going to eat their food. But I want to really stress, number 1, the most important thing is good service. Do I feel welcomed and valued coming into your place of business? Well, why does the guest experience matter? Okay, that's kind of a dumb question, but I mean, we're going to talk about it. Well, your consumers, your customers have the opportunity to either be your ambassador or your assassin. What they're saying about your business can either kill your business or help you build your brand. You know, whether you like it or not, people are out on social media, they come in and they're writing reviews about your business. Bad or good, whatever that is, people are talking about your business. And if you're not paying attention to your social media reviews, it's frightening. Some of the things that people are actually talking about out there. And I know not everybody really embraces the, social media, because some people are just out there to write things. But I mean, really, the most part, I'm seeing a lot of people, they want to write reviews. You know, they're trying to give you feedback. They're trying to give you positive information. And so one of the challenges that you guys have as a restaurant, you know, you're busy running your locations. You're trying to manage the customers you have in front of you. How do you get time to go back and manage all these reviews? And, you know, it's really a challenge. Well, let's talk about the impact of social media, what it has on your business. If I can get this thing to work. There we go. Well, one of the reviews I shared, I'm going to share with you here real quick. I can't read that. My eyes aren't that good. I'm getting a little bit old here. But people are writing things, and it's important. Just one of the things that is detrimental is if you're not responding to your customers. A lot of times people think, well, somebody writes a bad review, I'll maybe respond to it, or if they write a good review, maybe. But I'm seeing a lot of restaurants, looking at statistics, only 5 to 10% of reviews are actually getting a response. That's extremely low. That's not good. On this particular review, this was done earlier this year, in this particular restaurant, the customer said that we're regular customers at this restaurant. We eat here on a regular basis. We've been coming here for years. This particular incident, when they were at the restaurant, they witnessed in the open kitchen the chef back there gorging himself on cheese and wiping it off on his dirty apron, okay? And then he proceeds to start plating the customer's plate with the sauce. He's tasting the sauce, wiping it on his apron. Okay, what kind of perceptions do you think the people witnessing are getting, okay? What's he doing to my food that's going to be coming out to my table, right? So the consumers wrote this review. They talked to the manager and said, hey, this is what I witnessed. And they did the right thing. They took some of the money off of their bill. But the rest of the review, they write, you know, we've been coming here for years. We really feel bad for the professionals and the servers because they always do a fabulous job. And only to have their reputation tainted by this horrible chef, okay? That owner never responded to that review. That's sitting out there with no response to it. That's death. If I'm a consumer and I'm looking at this going on, do I want to eat here? And I read this review, I don't think I want to eat there. That's not very appetizing, okay? Had that owner actually responded to that review and said, you know what, we retrained the chef, we're really sorry this happened, you know, we've replaced him, whatever it is. As a consumer, I might go, you know what, this is a responsible owner. Maybe I'll give it a try. Because I know some people write things, but they lost that customer forever, okay? Well, the other thing, before we get into getting ahead of the reviews, perceptions, okay? People get perceptions when they're looking at your business, and something we're going to talk a little bit more at the end, but you know, people are judging your business when they walk up. For example, I'm walking down the sidewalk and I'm thinking, where do I want to eat today? And I look at a restaurant and I go, well, you know what, let's see what they got on their menu, right? And I notice that the paint's chipping and peeling, the windows are dirty, the sign's faded. I'm looking at that and what am I thinking to myself? It looks dirty. You know what, if they're not taking care of the things that I can see, what are they doing behind the scenes in the kitchen that I can't see? Chances are I'm going to walk right on past that place and I'm going to go somewhere else. And you see that happen all the time. And what happens is people get so busy in the restaurant, they're not paying attention to those things. You know, people develop their own perceptions or misperceptions about your business. Now the truth is that restaurant might be wonderful, the kitchen might be clean, the food might be great, but my perception is I think it's dirty, I don't want to go in there. Stories, you know, as an example, you guys go to the bank, right? And you're waiting for your teller, you're in a hurry, you don't got a lot of time, you got 10 people in line at the bank. You got 2 teller windows open, okay? And you got 1 teller sitting behind a window with the window closed. Who are you looking at? Okay? You're looking at the teller that's got their window closed and you're thinking to yourself, they must be experienced, they're behind the counter, they must know how to take care of, you know, my business, don't they think I'm important? And the 2 tellers that are working so hard to get the customers taken care of are wondering, why is everybody cranky when they come to the window? You know, what's going on here? You know, and the perception is the bank doesn't care, okay? Why don't they open the window and help? okay? The bank, what they can learn from that is, you know what, it's busy paperwork that they have to do, but take it somewhere else, take it further back so that that perception isn't being out there, okay? So things that's going on in your business, you need to pay attention to other things for perceptions and misperceptions. There's a story in a book called Sandbox Wisdom. Has anybody ever heard that book, read it? It's a very short, easy read. I have ADD. You can't keep my attention for very long. And I should have actually warned everybody not to hold up anything shiny because I probably would, get misdirected. But anyway, it's called Sandbox Wisdom. And it's written by this gentleman named Tom Asaker. And the whole story, it's chock full of these little anecdotes and stories about customer service and how people perceive your business and how they do business with you. And one of the stories he tells in there is about this grandfather and his granddaughter. On a Saturday, he's going to take her out to get some candy and spend the day with her in the afternoon. And so he's driving down. She says, Grandpa, can I get some candy? And he's, sure. So they pull into the mall. And she goes, we like to go to this candy store over here because there's a nice lady in there. She really loves us kids. She gives us extra candy. And Grandpa's like, okay, great, we'll go in there. And he goes, well, why don't you go to the candy store over here? She goes, that lady in there is so mean. She takes candy away from us. None of our friends go in there because she's just mean. Okay, well, he's been in the store before, and the lady that owns the store is really nice. But okay, so they go into the candy store with a nice lady, and they order a half pound of the kid's favorite candy. And so, the nice lady, she takes a little bit of candy, puts it up on the scale, and she weighs it until it's a half a pound of candy. And she keeps adding a little bit more and a little bit more until it's a half a pound. They tie it up. She's really friendly and nice and thanks them. They walk out the door, and Grandpa's thinking, well, I know this lady over here is not mean. I'm going to see what's going on. So he goes to the store next door to the mean lady and orders the same half pound of candy. And the lady's really nice. She's really friendly, welcomes him come into the store. And she takes a giant scoop of candy and puts it on the scale. And then she takes a little off, and a little off, and a little off, and a little off until it's a half a pound, okay? What is the kid's perception? She's taking candy away from us. The other one's nice. They're getting the same half pound of candy, but it's perception. What are things going on in your business that your employees are doing that might be causing some misperceptions? So sometimes the guest experience, we always kind of equate it to how friendly you are to your customers, which is extremely important, but you also need to look for misperception, things that are going on. How long has it been since you looked at the air conditioning vents in your restaurant? Are they dirty? Is there a spot on the floor that's been stained for months and you forgot it, you don't see it anymore? Are your signs getting faded? Those are things that you need to be paying attention to. Well, let's kind of talk about, make sure we're doing on my time here. I'm doing good. I think I got 10 more minutes. I might get it all in. So let's talk about getting ahead of reviews, okay? So what if you were, instead of chasing bad reviews all the time, you work on getting ahead of reviews. You start training your staff the way you want them to be treated. And all the reviews that start coming in are positive reviews. Well, imagine if you were to treat all your customers like a valued friend coming into your home, okay? What do you do at the end of the week? You're having several of your friends your closest friends come over for dinner. The housekeepers have been, right? Food's been done, the food's prepared, you got the wine set out, and you're waiting in anticipation for your friend's arrival. They come to the door, you all smile, and everybody's happy, okay? You welcome in as a welcome guest into your home. You have a great time, a great meal. They go home, and you embrace each other, and you can't wait till you get to do it again. Well, what if your customers were treated that way by your employees? You can't wait for them to come, and you can't wait for them to come back. You're making sure when they walk in that door, they feel like a valued guest in your home. And when they're leaving, that they're thanked for their business. You know what? That covers a lot of mistakes, and it's important that you start thinking that way of your customers. This little lady here, Tony, I use her in a lot of my presentations. When I had my retail stores I talked about earlier, this little lady, she's 78, 79, I think now. She worked for me for the entire time I had my stores. And this little lady was like 4 foot nothing. I mean, just short, and I had these counters, we had bulk candies and stuff, and she couldn't see over the counters. It was always like this. But she never met a stranger in her life. She had a lot of things going on in her life. Her husband was very, very sick for many years, and she had to take care of him. But when she got to work, I mean, instantly a smile was on her face, her baggage was gone, and she loved people. Somebody come into the store, and she knew everybody by name. They'd come in, and she'd run around the counter, oh, hi, and she'd grab their name and give them a hug, and she just loved people. And if she didn't know them, she'd, what's your name? And she would remember 2 months later when they came back, she knew their name, and she'd use their name. And people, was funny. People would come into the store, and you could kind of see what was going to be ready to happen, because you'd see them kind of like look in the store and kind of look around. It's like, oh, can we help you? Is Tony here? No, she's on break or she's off today. We'll come back. It's like, it's not that we weren't friendly or, they didn't really want some, but what they were doing was they were coming in for their love. They wanted a little bit of Tony time because she knew how to love people. She knew how to embrace them. And so when I was training my staff, I was like, you want to know how to take care of the customers? You watch her, okay? I still send her flowers every year for her birthday. She hasn't worked for me for 15 years or whatever it's been now, but just a great, great, great lady. But she just loved people. She's an ambassador for the business. Anyway, so one thing to keep in mind, consumers spend where they feel welcomed, okay? This applies to retail, this applies to restaurants, and it applies across the board. You know, as a study showed, 60% of people will leave without making a purchase if they don't feel welcomed. I'm one of those people. I'll give you an example. Just earlier this year, I was speaking at another location earlier in the year, and my vice president and I were traveling together. In the morning, we got up to have breakfast before the speaking engagement, and we walked into this restaurant. And they've got the sign that says, "Please wait, host will seat you," right? Perfect. And have you ever walked into a place where you feel tension, and you feel like, God, nobody wants to be here, you know? And that's how we felt, instant tension. But anyway, so the sign's there, and I looked, there's 2 or 3 tables of customers in there. It was almost like a horror movie. It was like, get out, you know? It's like, okay, so there's kind of like almost a warning signal with their eyes. But I see somebody working in the back of the restaurant. I don't know if it was the host or somebody, but they kind of peek around, they saw us up there, and we stood there for 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, we're going, okay. So what do? I pull out my phone, get onto Yelp. I'm not familiar with the area. Oh, wait a minute, here's a restaurant across the street and down the block, 400 and some odd reviews, 4 stars. Where do I want to eat? I was part of that 60%. We left that day, they didn't get our money, okay? We walked across the street, we went into the restaurant, they opened up the door immediately, greeted us in, sat us, the server came right over. I started reading the reviews, and it was like everything matched the experience we were having. I mean, they thanked us for our business when we left. I also read the reviews of the restaurant we almost went to, and 1 star, I mean, everything was horrible. They're unfriendly, the food's no good. And I guarantee you, the owner of that restaurant is going, we're serving the same things. They're across the street. Why is my business dying, and why are they thriving? What's the difference, okay? It's an engaged owner. They're paying attention. Their staff are trained. They're hiring the right people. One of the things I had as a philosophy when I had my stores is you can hire the smile and train the talent. If all you're doing is hiring talent and they have no personality at all, you're killing your business because you're in the customer service industry. You know, some people are better off in a warehouse or downstairs in the catalog department or someplace else not greeting your customers. And I see it all the time where restaurants feel like the host position is the low man on the totem pole, okay? That's the most important person that you have in your restaurant because they're the first person that sees your customers when they come in and the last when they walk out. And if they're not having a good experience and they're not greeted when they walk in, that's going to change the experience that your customers are having. The server might do a great job. They might do everything they were supposed to, but that server might have set the pace for them when they walked in the door by, okay? It's important that, you know, that person is an ambassador for your business, so you hire the right people. You know, I was in a store here recently, and it just totally drove me nuts. I go to the register, right, and whatever I was buying, and the kid behind the store, you know, he saw on his cell phone when I walked in. There was no engagement, no looking. And I walk up, and he's, you know, probably talking to his girlfriend, OMG, I heart you, you know, whatever. And so I pay for my item, and he gives me my change and my receipt, and it just bugged me. I turned around and said, don't you ever say thank you to your customers? And he wasn't being sarcastic, he was being sincere. He said, you know, well, we do. It's right there on your receipt. Okay, that's not thank you, okay? In his mind, that's what he was doing. And, okay, you got to make sure they understand what the expectations are of them. So kind of talking through here a little bit. One of the statistics I had there, 68% of shoplifting is reduced by greeting customers. I mean, you know, we do a lot of work in the retail business, and if somebody's coming in to steal from you and they're greeted, they now know you can recognize them. They're going to go to the store where the guy's on his phone doing this, okay? But you have to inspect what you expect. You know, if you don't have a mystery shopper program in place, you need to have one. If you don't have some kind of training standards into your operations where your staff are constantly being trained, you need to make sure that you do. You know, you need to survey your customers on a regular basis. You need to know how they want to be served. You know, you need to be also checking your social media reviews. That's something that's extremely important to your business and your operations. You know, that's something that you will either live or die by. Whether you like it or not, social media is there forever. One of the things my company offers, we do have mystery shopping where we have a Spark program. We're tied in with Performance Food where we offer reduced services. We also have a social media app called Reply Pro where we actually track all your social media. So if you want to just be able to go from your phone, look at your social media, we can actually track all that for you. But you guys are obviously good operators. You're the top of the Performance Food. You obviously know what you're doing, but it's really important that you're being proactive in your business and paying attention to other things besides, just the menu and other items. One of the apps that we offer some of our customers too is what we call our internal audits. You need to be proactive in walking through your restaurant and you're looking at maintenance items on a daily basis. Check, make sure your light bulbs are not out, make sure your tables aren't wobbly, because those are all things that contribute to a bad customer experience. So if you're not walking through your restaurant on a regular basis and checking all these things, you should be. Anyway, so I know we're about out of time. I think I ran it right to the minute. Any questions from anybody? I didn't dazzle you that much. I'm trying to keep AJ over here from going to sleep on me. Any questions? Yes. I'm sorry? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Good question, yes. The question was, what do I think about the technology for people using tablets on the table for surveys? I think they're a good idea. I think they have their place, okay? But at the same time, people are just, sometimes bored and they're just playing with things. We do register receipt surveys where, somebody can go onto the register and they can act on the receipt and they can log in and give you feedback. I think it's a good idea because, you have to kind of put a filter on it because some people are just bored. But it's important to pay attention to that because it is feedback. Anybody that gives you feedback, you need to be paying attention to it. Now, I will tell you one thing that if you guys are considering additional technology, we have almost 1 million mystery shoppers in our database. And one of the things that we do is opinion polls. We do crowdsource solutions for businesses. We work with a lot of the world's leading market research companies where we're doing opinion polling and different things for them. And one of the surveys I did for one of my clients here earlier this year was on the use of, like when you go to a restaurant, they have the self-service checkout. Same thing like the menu where you can give a survey, but you could also check out. Well, we did a survey and it went from we had segments from 18 to 25, 26, and so on and so forth in different segments on how is that perceived? Is that a value or do you feel like your guest experience is being jeopardized by having that, okay? And it was interesting to see the millennials, 42% or whatever said they would prefer a full service checkout experience versus self-service at the table. And that number went up higher and higher in the age range, up to 60 plus, was like 63% said they want full service. That was their expectation. And on top of that, they had a percentage of people that said, I feel like my guest experience will not be what I would expect because of this use of technology. So there's different feedback that they gave, but it was really interesting because a lot of restaurants are thinking, do I go into that, okay? Not that that's necessarily bad technology, but what it's doing, if you paid attention, is making lazy servers. They come out, what do you want? Here's your tea, you never see them again. They're waiting for you to pay your bill and leave. But what's the first thing that pops up on that? How much tip do you want to leave, okay? And so it's creating a not positive guest experience. So, take it with a grain of salt, but some things, are good. I just read an article here on the way here. There's a company and some of you have probably already seen this, but they're experimenting with dishes where you plate your food, and they set up for your cell phone where they can be propped up and take pictures, and they actually have like branding on the food itself, so you can actually have a brand, and because everybody's taking pictures of their food. Those are genius things that you can be doing because hashtag, whatever your restaurant is, those are brilliant things you can be doing, but you need to make sure your food is good and that the service is great because what they're sending out there is important. So there's a lot of technology, but the biggest thing is you really just need to be paying attention to the guest experience and listening to your customers. Other questions? Great question. I know you got more than you were asking for. Yes. How often do we recommend doing mystery shops? It really depends on the company and what your standards are. Most of our clients, I will tell you, do at least a monthly program on a continuous basis, and they'll do 1 or 2 shops a month. And they'll look for busy shifts, weekends, or whatever it is. Everybody's different. Everybody has different budgets, but the key is you're getting anonymous feedback that's unbiased, that you can take to your staff and go, it's not my friends that did this, it wasn't my sister. Here's somebody, it's a consumer that came in and here's how they're rating you. You can't argue with the ratings. And one of the things that we kind of a challenge, and I'm going to get off here in just a minute so I don't take over somebody else's time, but somebody will run a program for a period of time and go, well, you know what? We were at 80%, now we're at 92% or whatever it is, we're doing great. Should I cut this out of our budget? Inevitably what happens, because there's no mechanism for feedback that's coming back to the employees, eventually you start seeing their numbers. So they call back up and go, I don't know what's going on. Our numbers starting to drop again. So okay, so we put it back in, and guess what? They went right back to about where they were because they have new hires that came in, or people are no longer being accountable with the results coming back. And so all what they did to create and build the service culture is now they have to kind of start all over again. So, can you afford not to? That's a question you have to answer for yourself, but it absolutely makes a difference. If you lose one customer over a bad experience, what does that equate to? I'll keep it really short. I have a friend of mine on Taco Tuesday for years going to the same restaurant every week. And he had an experience where the server, we couldn't find him for 15 minutes. He disappeared. And then finally we got a busboy, hey, can you get us a bill, right? He disappears. He went to the same vortex that the server went to. Finally, about 20 minutes later, he comes back out. Well, my friend Larry was mad. He left. And the server comes out, gives us a bill. He goes, well, where'd Larry go? He left. He got sick of waiting for a bill. Instead of saying, I'm so sorry, guys, he got mad and said, well, Larry's never welcome back here again. And all of his friends that he brings every single week, been going there for years, they spend about $1,200 a month on the average collectively. Guess what? He hasn't been back. They lost that business permanently. You know what? Little things like that make a difference. So anyway, you need to have mechanisms for feedback. I'm about out of time. I know they're going to run me out of here. Any other questions? You guys come see me at the booth. As I mentioned, we are giving a big screen TV away. Drop off a card, come see us over there, and thanks for coming, and hopefully you guys got something out of this. Appreciate it.